everyone. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Happy New Year's.
New Year.
Happy New Year's. Oh my goodness, it's the New Year already, and it's your first time on the live stream, huh?
Yeah.
I know it's not the first time you've ever been in any of my videos, but this is kind of new for you. Oh my gosh. Let's see who's here. So today we thought we would talk a little bit about some of our favorite games that we've played as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And some answer some questions from people who have asked me a bunch of questions over the last a couple of weeks ago. I was Board Game Geek of the Week on BoardGameGeek.com, and they asked me a bunch of fun questions, and I thought I could ask you guys some of the same questions so we could see just how united we are as a family. If we really are. I'm totally cheating on height here because
you are on your knees, and she's like the same height as you.
She is not quite the same height as me, almost, but not quite. So, yay! We're doing it live. Let's run it live. So I'm gonna start out with some of the questions first, and then we can talk about some of the games and why we love them, because we've got a whole stack off camera. You can't see them at all of questions that are out here for us. And if you want to throw a question in the chat, feel free to. We'll see them and we'll answer them as we do, as we often do, at least. So yeah, we're really excited to see what people come up with. So, one of the first questions on Board Game Geek is, what is your favorite spaceship? What's your favorite spaceship?
I think...
Oh my gosh, you're taking a long time. I'll let Papa talk and then you choose.
As much as I'm a huge Star Wars fan and even have a Star Wars ship tattooed on my body and the bridge of a different Star Wars ship tattooed on my body, I'm gonna have to go with the Battlestar Galactica from the reboot.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, like, it's iconic, and fundamentally, like, this is the ship that kept humanity limping along despite being literally obsolete. And as I get older, I just feel more and more obsolete, and I'm able to just completely relate to the Galactica.
That's delightful. Actually, that was not my pick. My pick was
the Defiant?
Oh yeah, it's the Defiant. It's like, you know me. Oh my gosh. Man. The USS Defiant on Star Trek, it's a vessel that is all guns and engines, and anything else is just extra. Like they're basically, they sleep. Like, when I remember the first time I saw the crew compartments, and then I saw like videos online showing like the coffin hotels in Japan, and I was like, oh my god, that's
the Defiant.
It's the crew compartments for the Defiant.
But see, I mean,
perfect.
All guns and engines, though, is a very drunk Teri attitude. I feel like sober Teri is more of the Enterprise, because you're trying, like, it's an ongoing mission. It's peaceful. It's about diplomacy.
No, because I think the Defiant at its heart is exactly, like, it's all utility, and it's exactly the kind of Star Trek ship that people like, that Trek needed at that time. So people are saying hello in the chat. We've got to say hi to them. Holy smokes, there's a lot of people. Let me see if I can get the chat open here. Whoops,
that's the wrong video.
That's the wrong video. Hold on here.
So while Teri is juggling that, Elora, what's your favorite spaceship?
I think my favorite spaceship is the Millennium Falcon, because it's junk, and because there's a space chess board by lots of chairs, and there's also like a medical area.
And I'm gonna throw slight Last Jedi spoilers, even though there's no plot points here, but it's fighting a Porg infestation at this point.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I think that, okay, so we'll say hello to John Patrick, Khalio, Ian Lacey, the nerd, who's apparently really cold, and Art of Scale Modeling. Oh, Art of Scale Modeling, asking a question. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Does my little one paint minis too? Do you?
Yeah.
What have you painted this year?
This year I've painted a bit of my Ninja All-Star stuff, some tiny penguins for a game that we lost pieces for.
We lost pieces.
We.
And
some Massive Darkness.
Yeah, you've painted some Massive Darkness monsters and 2 heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
We've been actually we actually got a game in today of Massive Darkness, which is I think I'm gonna pull it out. Actually, we can talk about it a little bit and then ask more questions.
So should we throw shade and talk about like who is the only person on this couch without a fully painted hero for this current campaign?
Hey, it's almost there. Just all right. We're grabbing it.
Wisconsin is super cold.
Yes, it
is. Don't doubt it.
Oh,
Ovo Cash TV is giving away 3 iPhone 8s. That's crazy.
Let's kill that comment. Blocked.
There we go.
There we go. Massive Darkness, though. We've got Massive Darkness here. This is so heavy. Oh my god, this box.
Okay, so that box is heavy because the Massive Darkness box is in and of itself heavy, but we also have the contents of like all of the hero only, like the hero and roaming monster expansions. Although most of the monsters and minis aren't in here, this is just the cards. There are heroes and cards, but we have like the lava and crystal cave expansions in there, and it's just a lot of stuff because there's like 15 of the typical Zombicide style board, like cardboard squares, and all of that, and all of the paper pads for the skills.
Do you like playing Massive Darkness? So we play Massive Darkness every
week. Usually Sunday.
And why do you like it? Do you play with us because we make you? We force you to?
No, I like it because it's like an adventure game, and we can gain XP to buy some things for it to like improve your characters, and you can also continue on playing if you're playing story mode, so you don't have to discard everything and then restart a new hero.
You kind of like that because you're a bit of a pack rat, aren't you?
Yeah.
You and your box body right here.
No.
But I mean, I think it's in terms of a great family game. If you're looking to get started, the miniatures are really easy to paint. They're beautifully detailed. They don't require assembly, and it's a great team game, which is something that
we need more cooperative games in our lives.
Yeah. As a family, you can avoid a lot of drama by playing more cooperative games. And so if you're looking for a way to get little ones into miniatures or playing as a family without the weight of like a miniature war game, like a proper miniature war game, this is a great way to get in, and you can kind of develop the skills, even the math, the turn sequence order, all the basic gamer skills. You can get in really well and teach the little ones at a young age as they grow older to develop those gaming habits as well. Also, we might as well tell everyone, how old are you?
I am 8 years old.
8 years old. So a lot of the boxes, like they do have like age. Like all of Simon's games
are like 14 plus.
Yeah.
And I think that's just them being safe so that no one is just like, it's a 10 plus and my 11-year-old can't manage this.
My 7-year-old ate the pieces and that sort of thing. Let's see here. Let's talk about it. So we have got a question about what our favorite non-miniature. What's our favorite non-miniature board game? What is your favorite board game that has no miniatures in it?
Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle for sure.
Let's get it.
And the expansion makes it awesome.
Okay, it's a fun game without the expansion. The expansion
new this year.
Is new this year. I think it released to the public at Gen Con and then was like out of stock forever for the first few months afterwards, because it is a great game and it is a really smart, clever expansion.
It's another cooperative game. And what's your favorite part of it?
That it's about my favorite book, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And movies.
It's one of those nice things where if you're finding games that are tapping into the interests of your family and little ones you're playing with. So Nathan and Elora read. What do you guys read every night?
Harry Potter.
What did you just finish yesterday?
The Prisoner of Azkaban.
So they read together, and so this is one of those games that helps reinforce that fandom for Laura, and we can encourage that, and we can also just it's another way to get into that world. So this is your favorite miniature game?
Yeah, I also like it because it's also kind of a card game.
It's a deck builder game.
Yeah, it is a deck builder game, and despite being a deck builder, one of the things that I love most about it is, unlike a lot of different licensed games, this to me captures Harry Potter. And that is like just this huge point where, like, even if it's like the first time you flip over and you're just like, a Bezoar, oh my god, I forgot about that. That's amazing. And it has those little Easter eggs because there's such an attention to detail. It is movie licensed, so you've got all of the movie actors and actresses.
I'm gonna go grab your favorite non-main.
Oh, did we forget that one upstairs?
It is upstairs.
You absolutely know what I'm going to pick.
I'm going to
awesome.
get it.
And so, like I said, that's a really good, interesting, fun kind of thing. Is like, as Teri was saying, you can reinforce the fandom, and the fact that this game just captures the spirit and the essence of Harry Potter is fantastic. The first time we played it, immediately we just wanted to watch more Harry Potter movies because it just does such a good job there.
And there's like a beginner way, and then if you beat that, you can move on to like the second book, which adds to the first, and then it goes on to the seventh.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. Is basically the way that Hogwarts Battle is released, and you can play it this way all the time. Although we don't want to sort that many cards, so we just kind of leave it all in. Is it basically treats games 1 and 2, which are only about the first 2 movies, obviously each movie is its own game, but then it treats the first 2 as if it's a tutorial. So a lot easier rules, the villains aren't nearly as mean, things of that nature, which is really, really awesome. And yeah, I agree with you, the nerd. I love the fact that it's a cooperative game. So many deck builders, even when you have this common mechanic that you're playing against, still only comes out of only one person can win. And when it comes to just family gaming, sometimes, it's nice for us to win or lose together. Because, like, there have been games where it's just like the villain flip on turn 1 is really mean, and we all lose. Oops.
But for game 2, the hardest villain is definitely the basilisk. 8 hearts.
8 hearts.
It hurts.
It hurts.
All right, so have you gotten to your game yet, Nathan?
Oh, theater nerd. Yeah, you know what? It's the vowels you're missing, my friend. That is why no one ever gets it right.
Oh, that makes more
theater
sense.
nerd. Yeah, but like I said,
got it.
Spell theater without any vowels, and there we go.
All right, so
there's a
couple questions there. Someone's talking about the elf contour brush, so I have to say something. You're looking for the eye brush, so it's the size of an eyeshadow brush. They have another.
That's meaningful to a lot of male miniature wargamers.
There's like a contour. There's 2 kinds for makeup brushes. Contouring is when you like highlight the cheekbone and shade the bottom here. It's kind of like when you paint faces on miniatures. When you're looking for the elf contour brush, they might be talking about like the face contouring brush or the contouring brush as opposed to the contour brush, which is like, I know, it's really terrible nomenclature when it comes to makeup brushes. So, John, you're looking for the elf contour brush. It looks like an eyeshadow brush. It's a little fatter than a dry brush, but it shouldn't look ridiculously large like something you would use on like dusting miniatures, for example. Nathan, what is your favorite non-miniature board game? Unfair. This is one we play as a family, and I will say it is made by Cool Mini or Not. and it does have one miniature in there, which is like used as a
it's the turn tracker, because basically every turn is broken down into phases, and so there's like a phase tracker that goes down, and that is the only mini, but it's 100% a card game. What I love about this game is that from a core gameplay perspective, replayability is baked in. So basically the premise is you're trying to build the best amusement park, and it has to be better than your rivals. So not a cooperative game. It is competitive. But what I mean by that replayability being baked in is there are different themes of parks, and when you are getting together, you just draw one theme per player. And so when you start to look at the different possible combinations, and this starts with 6, and I'm hoping to see expansions for it in 2018. With 6, the 3 of us have played, and it's just like, I don't think we've ever had the same combination of games, because when you add in those 3 different themes, and it works really well. And the other thing that I really like about this game in particular is the way that a lot of the cards are. If you are playing with your family, you can play very nice and very polite. Do we play
nice? Do you play nice?
No, she didn't. We taught her how to be a jerk, and so she likes to destroy things. But that was my point, is if you as a gaming group are a bunch of Care Bears, and that's totally fine. There's no judgment in that statement, but it's just like, if you do not enjoy the friction of player conflict, this game can absolutely facilitate that. But if you are also a gaming group of cutthroat jerks where winning is less important than making sure everyone else loses, this is also a perfect game for you.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And that's why, for me, it's my favorite game of the year that we played.
Yeah, in terms of like new games. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to an old, trusted, beloved game. Like, do you like Unfair? Like, Unfair is another one of those games I should mention. It says 14 years plus. Elora obviously plays it with us. What's your favorite theme in the box?
My favorite theme, I think, is ninja, since it's all destroys.
Vampire is also pretty destructive heavy.
Yeah. It's pretty, I mean, it's a fun kind of engaging game. The game feels different every time, and you have to adjust your strategy as you go, depending on the themes that are being played. So it's fun in that sense as well.
But I also really like gangster.
There are a few games that I have played this year that are non-mini games that I love. So just to be clear, my favorite board game to this day, I mentioned in my book, we've talked about it before, the metric I measure every board game against is Galaxy Trucker. Now, this is a game we've tried playing with her a little bit. Still not quite there. But a game that
building ships is what gets you.
It's challenging. The game that I do love, that I love this year, and I love from the time we got it, is number 9. And this is a fun, again, very family friendly. You play it with us, right? Great way to practice your multiplication tables and your adding.
The last time we played this as a family, mine looked like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and also
you don't want it to look like Swiss cheese.
It's
that's not good.
What I love about it is it's like Tetris on the tabletop.
3D Tetris
and
numbers.
And it's just very quick playing. It's very cerebral, and there's not a lot of take that element to it. So so as a family, you can play it really well, and it's really just you kind of, working your own mental skills, and it's clever.
Yeah, I mean, like,
where are you going?
For me, just wait. Mom will grab things. For me, with number 9, I think that there are 3 things that it has going for it that kind of make it into that really special, really fun kind of game. The first is the fact that as a game, every single turn, you feel immaculately clever and amazingly stupid. Like, as soon as it ends, like, you know, because basically it is kind of like 3D Tetris. So like you'll flip a card and you have to put your number down and you feel like the most clever person in the world when you make it fit.
Yep.
And then they flip the next number and you feel like such an idiot for putting the previous number where you did. And that's just, it's fun because it's like 15 flips where that's what you feel. But even then, it's like a 10-minute game, and it cleans up in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it is so good in those in all of those realms where you can feel clever, and at the same time, it's over very quickly. You can clean it up or just play again. And
do you like playing number 9?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it helps me with like math if I'm like not understanding that much, which is not really common, but it sometimes happens. And I also like it because it's like a puzzle game.
Yeah, and you love puzzles.
Yeah.
So there's something really satisfying about putting things together when they fit perfectly and it like makes this perfect mosaic. And there's something terribly frustrating about when you have that gap in the middle and you just can't deal with it, right? And you have to work around it. And it's a game that is so simple and constrained, but also just really condensed and full of fun. And it seems really approachable, and also one that where when you get into the higher kind of levels of the game, there's like card counting involved where you're anticipating what the next number is going to be, and like you're doing all these other things that you know you don't have to do when you play it at all. But if you're looking to like prepare and kind of play it at that level, you can.
You're such a power gamer.
I'm such a power. Yeah, I'm the power gamer. So yeah, like let's go out and see. I don't know if anyone else has joined in the chat. Let me quickly give this a refresh here. But we've also got some questions again from Board Game Geek. We'll do these next 4 as a lightning round while we wait for that to load. Favorite kind of pie, Nathan?
Apple.
Elora?
Apple.
Banana cream. Vegetable?
Corn.
Squash.
Squash. I like corn. I think I like corn.
Oh, you're Filipino. The answer is corn.
Favorite kind of cookie?
Eggnog.
Eggnog.
Oatmeal raisin, because apparently I'm 73.
Oh my god, that is true. I don't know. I think I'm into like nutmeg shortbread. So like the eggnog flavored cookies are so good, fresh, and like when they're soft too. I'm all about that. Favorite kind of ice cream?
Bubblegum.
If it's a fancy place and would have it, apple pie. Otherwise, give me cookie dough.
What's my favorite kind of ice cream? Do you even know? You know? I get it almost every time we go to the ice cream store. But maybe
the ice cream sandwich?
Yeah.
Because that's all you ever get.
It's maple walnut.
Oh, I was gonna say green tea.
Green tea, that too. And most Asian restaurants, you go get green tea. But like they could serve me wasabi frozen in a hunk of ball. I wouldn't know until that first bite, and that would not be my favorite ice cream. Let's see here.
She might do that to one of us one day.
I would never do that to
You're
one
a trolling
of you.
mom.
I'm not a trolling mom. I'm a little bit of a trolling mom.
You're a huge troll.
I'm
mom.
a little bit.
I'm
tiny. Okay, hello. Oh my gosh, a lot of people are saying hi in the chat. Walkabout Games, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Forge, Clinton. Hello. Thanks for joining us, guys. Do you want to talk about some of the other games we played this year that we really enjoyed?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you talk about this one, and you can talk about how it is to play with Mama and Papa.
This is Castles of Khaled Ale. It's basically an easier galaxy trucker, and you could so you have to build a castle, and it's also good with math because in the end you have to add points. And I also like that they're tiny little like wooden figures.
Meeples.
Yeah, meeples that you use to skirt track. And I love how adorable the art is. I love the gnomes.
And so when she says like Galaxy Trucker, it's a tile laying game.
Yeah.
And you draw tiles. You can draft them from a visible set of 9, or you draw them blind off a pile, and you build this castle, and the textures have to match, and so forth. And what's really fascinating about it is it's family friendly in that, you know, the art's really accessible, the themes are really just delightful, but you can rebuild your castle at any point.
Did you say that's delightful?
That screws mama. That screws mama.
You can do it if you're stuck. And I think that's part of it, is like, if you use it to be flexible, it's great. If you use it because you just hate everything in front of you and you try to build, as I have done several times, it never works out.
Over and over.
It's horrible and it's a stressful kind of experience. But at the same time, it's like that optimizing kind of deal you feel inside, where you want to get things perfect, and you can never satisfy that. Oh my god.
And I mean, like, that's the thing, is it is a tile placement game, but the tiles aren't fixed when you put them down. So unlike something like Carcassonne or Galaxy Trucker, because again, in Galaxy Trucker, that connection is made. That shit is welded on. Like, you are done. There is no changing it. And Teri flourishes in the Galaxy Trucker approach, and she drowns in the Castles of Khaled Ale approach. And no matter how many times I suggest to her that she just treat Castles of Khaled Ale as if it is Galaxy Trucker and this tile is fixed, she never listens.
Unless you have a tile that you can put under another tile, then it's perfect. But if you're going to rebuild a castle, it's not good.
Yeah, okay.
Throwing shade. All
right. Speaking of another tiling game we've been playing, Arcade Academy is something we recently started playing as family. It's, again, really delightful. It's got that optimization kind of element, worker placement. It's tile laying, and it's one of those games that I think is really fun because there's a lot of player interaction. But the theme is also based on IDW's comics. And it's just, the art is, as a result, very accessible, very kid-friendly. And I think the age on this thing says, 12 plus? You can play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can play it pretty well.
It's also a bit of a card game.
Yeah, in that the assignments are cards. Yeah. And you complete them by fulfilling the tasks, right?
You generate resources, and then you fulfill them by spending those resources.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be really reductive, it is very much an engine building game where you have to kind of balance your action economy and what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, and try to do it, because basically the premise is you're taking your final exams at wizarding school. So as soon as someone has successfully purchased 8, whether they be built items or cast spells, pencils down, everyone else only gets one other turn after that, and then you just add up points. So you always have to juggle buying the big expensive stuff versus machine gunning lots of cheap stuff and hoping that your 1 or 2 points times 8 is going to be better than their 5 or 6 points times 3.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Let's talk about some mini games now. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about Massive Darkness. Let's see. Chris is talking about my first Carcassonne. No, we haven't actually played my first Carcassonne. It's funny because, like, I think as a philosophy, we've generally stayed away from games that are like reduced versions of games, like and that could be because we just, everyone's played Monopoly Junior and just hated it as much as they hated Monopoly.
I think what it is that whenever you have those junior versions, whether it is Carcassonne or Catan or Ticket to Ride or whatever, they are reducing the full game into something that's more palatable to children. But I feel like the core mechanics from games like that are full and intact and present in other games that are directed towards children.
Yeah.
So instead of me taking something like Ticket to Ride, watering that down into the kids version, we could play a different game that uses the same core mechanics, but instead of having 10 mechanics like the full game does, it has 1. And then we've been layering on games with her in that approach. Is
cool.
kind of how we have done it. So we didn't really play a lot of those types of games because also Monopoly Junior is terrible.
So let's talk about Ninja AllStars a little bit. This is not like a new for this year kind of game, but this is one of those games where Elora finally got old enough to play with us, and she's painted some of the ninjas, and you're collecting a whole, like, a specific faction now. This, if you're looking for a family game or a family-friendly kind of game that is as close to the distillation of a miniature war game as you can get on a board game with accessible themes and that sort of thing, this is it. It's not like a grimdark future, and it's not grimdark. Nothing dies. All they're it's like an arena battle. What?
Oops. Well, I don't know where that is.
It's later, honey. It is one of those games that I think is just, it's perfect to get a family experience of a miniature war game in, because, like, we know that miniature war games do best as like a 1v1 kind of experience. You know, you can get other games that have that, and we've got a few this year that are great, like, you know, 1v1v1 kind of games. Ninja AllStars is one of those games where it's like you can play head to head with 3 players, and it's still really it's as rich an experience, and it's a great family game because everyone is involved and nobody feels like, you can still have that element of you're on your own, managing your stuff. And in terms of what Ninja AllStars has, because I know in the board game world, some people didn't like it because it wasn't board game enough. But, like, if you're a miniature war gamer and you've got, you know, you're looking to play games with family who like board games but aren't into miniature games, this is like a great bridge into that. There are unit types, there are status effects, like everything that is there for miniature games.
There are campaign rules in the main rule book that allow you to field your 100-point clan and purchase abilities in between games.
It's Soda Pop miniatures, so it's chibi miniatures. Again,
chibi ninjas,
friendly,
right?
Yeah. Family friendly, all those things, right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like, in terms of board games, like, even with, like, every time we play it, it feels like a miniature game that's played on a
board.
hex. It's not hex, but on a dot board.
It's got terrain rules. For
it has terrain rules, line of sight rules,
forward arcs.
You know, forward arcs, movement and action mechanics, where it's just like so it has all of these mainstays of a minis game, but it's played on a board, and it gets better at more than 2. And I think that that's the big difference. So I can see why a lot of people expecting a board game were just like, what the heck is this?
What do you mean there are stat effects, forward arcs, all this stuff that is very comfortable for miniature war gamers to wear. If you're expecting a proper board game with ninjas out of this is not the game. Do you like playing it?
Yeah.
Why do you like it?
I like it because they're cute tiny ninja models, and because it helps me learn how to play miniature games, like big ones like Dark Age.
Oh yeah, so we're working up our way to Dark Age now, and a lot of that fluency has come from games like this. This game is also probably the reason why when we got this game, Elora was really comfortable with it, and that game is
Shadespire.
Okay, why don't you talk about Shadespire?
Ripsadas.
What?
It's mirroring it for us. Go
okay.
on.
Shadespire is a game where we pick boards and we pick like clans. There are 2 different clans and starter set. Corn, which is not actual corn, and
Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah, and
the guys in gold.
Sigmarines.
So basically it's a game where there's 3 rounds, and I like it. because the models don't like tiny clip-ons, so you can just squish them together if they don't if they fall off.
So you can build these guys, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Without the sharps. You don't get sharps.
And I also like it because it's also kind of a dice game because you have to roll dice for attacking and turn order and that stuff. And it's also cards because it's also a card game, and that I also like about it because I like card games, and I feel like card games are fun because there's not too many small pieces in card games, and there aren't too many big pieces. Depends on where our cats put them.
It's true. See, I feel like the biggest, like, weirdest tragedy here is that Ninja AllStars was released and touted as a board game. And Shadespire, by virtue of being Games Workshop, is touted as a Minnies game. But the reality is, like, they're kind of reversed. Shadespire plays much more similarly to a miniature-style board game, and Ninja AllStars plays much more similarly to a full-fledged miniatures game that just happens to be on a board.
We got 2 core sets, which is enough for all 3 of us to play with the factions in the boxes. And then we got the expansions as well. Yeah. What I want to say about Shadespire is because it feels so much more like a board game. It's streamed like a board game. Like Elora said, she loves the cards because the rules are on the cards. So what you need to do to win, how to get points, is
the cards.
And so there's 2 ways to get points. Yeah. The cards and what other way?
And to kill other
people.
Yeah.
You kill everyone else's.
Yeah.
The game, like, when you see it at Grand Clashes and that sort of thing, the way that most miniature war games are presented, that game feels much more like a 1v1 miniature game that you play like this. We play it as 3 players, and the whole dynamic of all the faction changes substantially because you not only have that third person that becomes targets and therefore more points, but also that third person can also they bring another board, which changes the whole topography of the table,
so I mean, Shadespire is incredibly clever, and it's very well balanced because basically there are, board placement is strategic and tactical. So when you are playing a 2-player game, if you lose the initial roll, you have to place your hex board down first, and then your opponent has a lot of control in dictating the overall play space because they can choose to go lengthwise. So if you've got a small, like, if I'm playing, let's say, Stormcast Turtles, and I have built 100% defensive where I don't even want to fight you, I can generate and score enough points to literally never engage you over the course of a game, and you're playing Orcs where you have to get in and fight. If you lose that roll, I'm able to dictate that fight, put us as far away from each other as possible, giving you less time. Then you add in a third player who just says YOLO. And like just smashes it up against your Stormcast Eternals board, and now all of a sudden their keep away game is shot completely. And that's why, like, in a 2-player game of Shadespire, it can be very much a game of, like, back and forth and me trying to play to my strengths and minimize my weaknesses and board placement and all of that for it. As soon as you add 3, and the game supports up to 4, and I think we have a friend flying in to visit us. We're absolutely going to be playing 4-player Shadespire with him the game next week, so I can't wait.
The dynamic is just
dynamic
different.
Is 100% different.
Even the faction dynamics are different now. Like, even when you think about how do you build your objective deck, and there's that kind of element of picking what your objectives are in your decks before you show up to the table. Knowing that it's going to be a 3-player or 4-player game means there's more objectives available on the board. There's more viable targets to attack. All of these things change the landscape of how you play. When Elora plays, what do you normally play?
I normally play Khorne.
So Khorne is one of the more challenging armies to play when you play a 2-player game. They become better and more inspired with more killing, but they're also really fragile, like a big glass cannon. When you play 3 players, the power level of Khorne as the faction from the core set just goes through the roof because there's that many more viable targets. The distance on the board is easily addressed,
overcome by them.
They move very quickly, and so like the dynamics of the factions change as well. And so I think it's a really interesting game, and it's a great game to play as a family because it's very straightforward. Again, it doesn't take long to play either, and the setup and takedown. I don't know how many times I can stress, like, when you play as a family, how much time you spend setting up and how much time you spend taking the game, like putting the game back, really affects that play experience. Because if you've got little ones running around waiting to play a game, they've got to wait half an hour for the game to be set up. Or, you know, you're packing it away, you as a parent having clean up after your kids. It's one of those really frustrating kind of experiences. Like, I don't want to say it might exacerbate like family drama, but like it's a thing. It's a possible thing. So, Taco says, what does Taco say?
Hey Terry, we met you at Gen Con last year. Happy New Year to you and Nathan. Also, those are some adorable PJs on the kiddo.
Are they PJs?
No, it's a sweater.
It's
Do you want to show it
just a
off?
hoodie.
Do you want to show it off?
It has
she got it for Christmas.
Yeah.
So.
It has a tail,
tail.
and that's what she loves most
Yeah.
about it.
Trash panda?
It is a
Yes,
trash
I'm
panda with a tail.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, like, that is one of the things. So far, I don't think we've ever had a bad game of Shadespire, and to be able to say that, like, listen,
That we play it with an 8-year-old.
yeah, and we can
an
play it with an 8-year-old, and we haven't had a single bad experience. It says wonders, because I mean, like, you know, I play and have played like 10 plus Minnies games over the course of my life, and Shadespire is the only one so far that I can say have never had a bad experience, and that's just incredible.
Yeah, so we're kind of just talking through the games. We're also answering questions. So if you've got questions, throw them in the comments. We're reading them as we go. What other games do we have here? Oh, another 14 plus game that we play as a family, even though it's all full of choking hazards.
Yeah.
Is what game?
Potion Explosion!
Okay, so Potion Explosion is old and has been out for a couple years now. The 5th ingredient expansion just came out. Even though it says 14 plus, we were at CMON Expo down in Atlanta this past year as a family, and they had Potion Explosion tournaments. So on the first day,
We played as a family.
the Friday, we all played as a family, where someone placed highest. She got in the family. She got 3rd place overall and some store credit. And then on Sunday, she had so much fun playing Potion Explosion that she decided to sign up. We didn't even play with her the second time because, like, she was well behaved the first one, and we had other things that we needed to do. And so she entered a tournament on her own. We talked with the guy running it. We're like, "Is this okay?" And he's like, "Your kid's awesome. It's fine." And she sharked it and won 1st place overall by almost like 40 points. Like, she sharked this tournament where it was like her and a bunch of grown-ups.
It was hilarious. That game up there. So what she ended up buying
with her store credit, with her tournament winnings.
With her tournament winnings is this little CMON game, also full of chokables. So Potion Explosion, it says 14 plus. It's full of marbles though. There is an app you can play it solo like that, which is not as fun. It's as much like a toy as anything else. Really fun though. If you're looking for a fun kind of light game, it's great. But she took her tournament winnings, and you can talk about this game. What is it?
It's a dice game where
called
Play Me.
Okay.
And you choose a character. They have special abilities. One card has no abilities, but hey, you can play that if you want. So you have to roll 6 dice, get them in order unless you have a card that says not. But you have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you do, you flip your card over to the harder side. So let's say Mom and Papa get to their harder side, but I don't. So then after I get to my harder side, I changed to the Jabberwocky, which is I just basically get rid of my character card and play as the Jabberwocky now. So they both flip back to their normal side, but I have to win. I choose one of them to flip over to their mad side, and if both of them are on their mad side, which is the crazy side, I win. But if one of them win, I flip over to my mad side, and and there's also this aspect where if you can't roll something that you can use one of the dice in your roll to block someone else.
Yeah, so basically it's like a dexterity-based kind of like speed dice rolling game.
What universe is this game set in?
Alice in Wonderland.
So it says 14 plus. There's a pile of dice in this box. It plays in how long? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If
the
that.
box says 10 minutes. You can crank out a game really fast. So like it's like backpack friendly, travel friendly, really fun. You take it to like a restaurant. You can play it at a restaurant really quick before Appies even come.
If it's a loud restaurant, I mean, 50 dice rolling all the time might get a little crazy in terms of noise level. If it's like a quieter or an emptier restaurant, obviously you're not bringing your 8-year-old to like fancy candlelit quiet restaurants, but provided there's like just a general background hum of noise, no one's going to find it annoying or ask you to stop. And
it's one of her favorite games because it's a game that you pull out the cards, you look at the components, and you can teach it really quickly. And so she totes it around, plays it with her friends, and we keep it around for her, and she loves it. She loves it.
I think we should talk about Forge's question because we are struggling with this same question.
Okay. So
what Forge is asking is two-part question. For a kid that plays Ticket to Ride or Catan, would it be a good idea to take an 8-year-old to Adepticon? Is it worth it for a family?
So they do have a board game library at Adepticon. So if you do get a ticket, you can absolutely go and do all of that. If you're staying at the hotel, it has a pool and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's an open painting table as well if you bring some paints and miniatures. There's some great, incredible people who just hang out and paint there and share tips and ideas. So if you want to introduce an 8-year-old to painting or that sort of thing, easily done. If you want to go there and play games with people who want to play in the board game library and organize that sort of stuff, you can totally do it. Chicago is a cool town for families too.
Yeah.
When we go every year to Adepticon, we go with the kid and we go to the Field Museum or
I think we're going to aim for the planetarium this year. But yeah, so I mean, like, here's the thing. When it comes to organized events at Adepticon, not really, because Adepticon has such a miniature wargame focus that if your child is not already playing those games, you're not going to be able to, say, register them for an event and play it with them where you're both at the same event, because there really aren't board game events going on. This year I did notice on the schedule there are a few, but even then they're like, Zombicide at midnight, and there's no way I'm letting her start a game at midnight. Or like Star Trek Ascendancy, which is fairly complex and involved. With that being said, we do bring her every year. They do have the board game library. We take her to the pool, and we go around and do Chicago.
The new venue that they're at, I think they switched over a couple years ago, is not that far away from the medieval. Yeah,
apparently there's a medieval times very close
as well. So it's just like, if you do the trip, and are there, it's worth going.
Apparently he's from Chicago. So.
Oh yeah, no, dude. If you're going out to play games, you want to check it out. The thing about Adepticon too, which is really great, is it is free to walk around. You don't need a ticket to go to the vendor's hall. You don't need a ticket to just like check it out.
You do need a ticket for the board game library or things of that nature.
But if you just want to check it out, you just want to go and hang out, you just want to meet some great painters, you can go for free. And I think that is what's really, if you're local, Like, there's no reason not to just do that and, bring your kid around, show them what's cool. And then that might be a great opportunity to introduce them to a game they might really like in the future. If they like the look of miniatures, that's a great way to go. Let's see here. All right, so let's look at questions. I'll see here. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Let's go with. Do you have a? Let's see. Do you have a favorite? Oh, here we go. What is a game that you love but are terrible at? Nathan doesn't love any game. He's not great. I know.
No, I'm honestly trying to.
Flip Ships.
Flip Ships you love but are terrible at.
Flip Ships is a game from Renegade, and it looks really cool. It's like a dexterity game that tries to recreate for the table, like the retro style, like top-down shooters. And it's so cool. It's so Ikaruga is the game that I think of when I think of Flip Ships. And the mothership at the end is this basket. You've got to flip your ship into to shoot it down.
Before they destroy the city.
But it's kind of it's totally a dexterity game.
It's a 100% dexterity
game. It's a good game.
It is a lot of fun. My only complaint, and the biggest reason why we don't play it as often as we should, is what was your point about cleanup?
Oh my god.
That game takes forever to set up and take down. Because
we always have miniatures and paint on our table.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we're good at game, it's 15 minutes of putting away all of our painting projects first.
Let's see here. Let's see. How do you fit in time with the kiddo, or does she participate? Okay, so we do some painting after bedtime. But we also paint together as a family, right? What do you paint when we paint as a family?
I usually paint either Massive Darkness stuff or Ninja AllStars. And sometimes if Papa's priming some things and I have no other things that I want to paint, I just start painting some penguins.
Mm-hmm.
From Hey, That's My Fish.
Yeah.
Quirt Heat Presser has asked if we've ever done any at PAX conventions. We haven't done PAX.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we don't really do video games at all. So I know that we have personally never looked in at PAX East, West, or South because we play so few video games that are covered there. PAX Prime, PAX Unplugged they had their very first one in a city that is quite drivable for us, but after a grueling convention season where you had to go and you did 5 for work this year? 4 at least.
So
4 or 5. We just didn't have the money. Her passport had expired and we had to renew it, and we were just looking at it, and the idea of hitting Unplugged this year was just exhausting.
Kind of late in terms of what our year had already been planned out for as well. So it was just one of those things. Probably going to try to make it out next year. They might be changing their schedule as well, so we'll see what the dates are. It's one of those things, though. I think part of it too also was the fact that there was a certain amount of convention fatigue by the time we got to PAX Unplugged, where I was just I don't want to go to another convention on all day.
Gen Con took so much out of you, and obviously Gen Con's the biggest.
It's different because if I was going to conventions to play games, it'd be a totally different experience for me. Instead, I go to conventions to have meetings.
Yeah,
and it's not as fun. Somehow gaming conventions where you don't get to game is not the same experience. So I want to do more conventions where I do get to game because there were a few conventions this year that I went to that I really enjoyed playing the games. I played games at Origins. I played games that went to Michigan GT together and had a great time. That's something I want to do more of, and so hopefully that's something we can continue to do. Do you have favorite paints?
Or just favorite colors?
Light pink, aqua.
Yeah, you like turquoise.
You like turquoise.
You get that from your mama.
Yeah.
It's genetic.
I mean, I think though too, it's also because I personally am so attracted to aqua and turquoise as a paint color. I have a lot of pretty like turquoises and aqua light blues in the range of stuff that we paint with,
And
so.
I paint a lot of pink.
Yeah.
Pink is such a beautiful accent color. Like anyone that's just like, I won't put pink on my models, you're stupid and you're hurting yourself. Pink is such a phenomenal accent color.
I mean, you would never do a Hello Kitty army.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, like, granted, maybe I'm skewed because I painted an Emperor's Children army way back in the day.
Old school.
So it's just like the old school, like mostly black with pink accent colors, where it's just like, it's such a good looking accent color if you have the right scheme, that we also have a lot of really nice pinks to choose from as well.
So what other colors do you like to paint?
Purple.
Purple.
Red.
What colors are you painting your ninjas and Ninja All-Star?
Pinkish, greenish, white.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really like good ninjas. They're more of box ninjas.
Yeah, you have Clan Kitsune, so
they're animal.
They're
creatures.
fox ninjas.
Literally.
Apparently, it's Kitsune.
Yeah, there are a few.
There were
Some
quite
are
a few
box,
spelling
there's some
errors on
spelling
her
errors,
box.
but I mean,
And I'm a writer for a living, so I saw them all.
But like, it's one of those things where we do paint together, and a lot of the paints kind of just end up in this big pile and direction. I think you're looking a little tired, baby girl. You're looking a little sleepy. How about you talk about, let's see, what other games do we have here? Oh, you're talking about your dice rolling game. Can you talk about this game?
Oh, Sagada, this is a game where you roll dice and you have to make pretty stained glass windows. So you select a little board, and then you're given 2 cards. You choose one, and there are back sides to those cards. So then you slip one side in, you discard the other, and then you have to roll dice to take turns giving dice to you. And then everyone chooses a dice to fill up their stained glass window. And I like that the cards actually give you limits, so you can't. So there's some color coded, and some you have to put
certain numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a delightful little dice drafting game where you're trying to make a stained glass window. And then for added difficulty, there are 3 sets of public achievements effectively. And if you achieve them, you score extra points. And so it's super fun, super light, and
beautiful.
It's beautiful. I love the look of everyone's board at the end of the game is beautiful. What I love about it is you could play this with very young children.
Yeah.
Provided that they could do the dice drafting mechanics, you would just have to take out, to me, I would say you could modify it by maybe taking out either point scoring at the end or taking out the public point scoring achievements, because everyone also has a private one, which is use a specific color of dice the most, and then you get points equal to the number of faces of that dice. So you could play this modified with very, very young children.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have found is that 2 players is very hard because you have a smaller pool to draft from. And so if you had a big group of 4 players, because you have 2 small kids, it's beautiful, and it's easier on the children to have that bigger pool to draft from.
If you're not worried about choking, that's basically the age restriction. I would use that, because they've got the
dice are very small.
Yeah, like the 11mm dice.
Start to finish, I think it's 10 turns. Flip it around.
Yeah, it's
it is 10 turns. Because after 10 turns, every single stained glass window is built.
So you place your dice in here, and at the end, this window is all filled up with these beautiful, transparent, tiny dice, and they look beautiful. And it's one of those games where you can do some really beautiful you all play. You can play together. It doesn't have to be competitive. It's not high on the confrontation scale either. So it's really great. So Ian's talking about Splendor. Actually, I think the game that is most like Splendor that we've played is probably Century. I would say
Yeah,
Century.
I think Century is closer to Splendor, but either way, like I said, Sagrada is fun. It cleans up real fast.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, it's such a thing for me now.
You don't have to sort dice. You just dump them in a bag at the end, and you just stick everything in. Cleanup is like what you never really realize. And I think that like why don't you grab Century off the shelf there? Century Spice Road is like the game.
So that's the map.
We don't need the map.
No, I know we don't, but it was sitting on top of the game,
Oh,
so
geez.
if you wanted it to get flung at you.
Now, Century Spice Road feels a lot like when you get the original version. It feels a lot like a Euro game. Even the art looks Euro gamey. But then they released this version. It's the Golem edition, and it's perfect. I think it's one of the games that's perfect for kids and families because the art suddenly makes this kind of
It makes it more whimsical.
Whimsical, yeah, and it's delightful like that. We've played it a number of times. We played a lot at Gen Con, and it's so pretty. Again, really quick cleanup, really quick setup, really accessible theme. Not a lot of like confrontation elements to it, and it's just really, really a very accessible game. Super easy to play. You got an 8-year-old. 7-8 is kind of like the age I would say you're good to start at because it's very straightforward, and the component quality is really good in the game. Which makes it really important. Really, it's a big thing for me, anyways. Obviously I play miniature games. I love component quality. So, what do you like Century Spice Road?
Yeah, I love it. I especially love the art because some of the
the golems.
Yeah, the objective golems look adorable.
Adorable. And I mean, I think that's something that when you're looking at games for family, because the art makes such a huge it's a difference in terms of immersion and buy-in for kids. All right, okay, that's the second yawn. I think we're gonna call it a night. I want to thank everyone. Say thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you
guys
everyone.
so much for watching. Thank you for coming on. Do you want to do more videos?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're gonna talk about these games some more? Maybe we'll record some reviews where you talk about the games and we'll edit up some stuff and you can show people how to play some of your favorite games. How's that sound?
Yeah.
That would be fun. Let's try that this year and see how it goes. Okay? Yeah. If you're interested in seeing that sort of stuff, let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for joining us. Everyone who has participated in the chat, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Hit that bell notification because I'm hoping to do a few more live streams. Maybe Elora can join us for a paint and hang sometime over a weekend day. We can paint in the middle of the day, hang out together, you know. I think you're too cool for us.
Oh, she's way cooler than we are.
Okay, we're gonna say goodbye now. Wave goodbye to the people. Wave goodbye to the people.
Why aren't you waving?
Bye. Bye. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Don't